I gotta get back to Mr. Rogers' class.
I don't know who that is or what that
That was
was.
Rosario
Let's
Dawson.
get back to the present day where he like tells her, "I want you to wear that silver dress tonight." I don't know. I gotta say, I didn't really like that silver dress on her. I thought we could
You
have gone with
know,
something
good.
better.
I'm glad we're on the same page of this. I think she should have gone back to the schoolgirl girl uniform.
I finally
Watched.
I finally
Watched.
I
finally
watched. I
finally
watched.
I finally
Watched.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alon, and I finally watched 25th Hour.
So we're continuing Spike Month, and this is one I have actually seen, but I going into this remembered almost nothing about it. And then as I was watching it, I was like, okay, all right, it's coming back to me, it's coming back to me. But then it sort of got to the point where I'm like, did I ever finish this movie? Because I remember up until he gets into the nightclub, and I think I remember the scene where Philip Seymour Hoffman goes into the bathroom, but I didn't remember anything after that. And I'm wondering if I ever finished this movie because I was
Hmm.
like, I'm pretty sure Barry Pepper turned him in. And then things in the movie happen to where they're like, oh, it was Barry Pepper. And you're like, okay, so it wasn't him. So yeah, I don't know how this movie ended. And then when it did, I was like, that's actually a nice surprise. Um, and another thing too is like I kept seeing the photo of Edward Norton really fucked up, like his face beat in, and I was like, how does that happen? And then when you figure out how it happened, I was like, that was a cool twist too, which only works if you like happen to see that photo and knew it was coming, but otherwise it was just
What photo? Like in the movie, a photo?
like a screensaver. I have the DVD. It was just him like looking out the car window as his dad drives him in, and he's been completely beaten up. And you're like, how did that happen?
Oh, people might just think that's from Fight Club.
Well, not if they're watching the movie.
No. Not if they're watching the movie. This movie kind of like reminds me. I forget the name of it. But we did it. The movie where the the stock is falling. The crash in '08.
Did we do Margin Call?
Margin Call.
Did we do that movie, or did I just have you watch it?
Wait, did you just have me watch a movie and not record a podcast episode about it?
I don't know.
You might have. You might have just
I
had
don't.
me
I don't
watch
think
it.
we. I don't think we've done Margin Call. Well, no, we
Interesting.
can't.
Well, now we can. Um, it reminded me a lot of Margin Call, and what I mean by that, I think I just mean the tone. The
Yeah.
tone is a lot like Margin Call, and how it's very like simple, and you have all these great actors really performing their heart out, but it's not elaborate set pieces. It's not a lot of different locations. It's very like this linear story with kind of like just these guys. Not a lot of background actors or anything like that. I guess until you get to the club scene, that's the big one, right? But like it's pretty simple, and I don't want to say boring, but at times I was just a little bit tired of this film.
I think I can see that because when I first watched this, I was like, I don't really understand what all that was about. And then watching it this time, maybe I'm a little bit older, I don't know, but I think I appreciated it a lot more.
Uh,
You know what I had the thought today is, and I don't think you haven't watched a lot of his movies, but this to me was like Spike Lee's take on a Woody Allen movie. Like
yeah,
this
yeah.
super New York movie where it's kind of just very character based and there's not really a whole lot. There's like there is a plot, and in this case there is this plot contrivance of like him figuring out who did this to him, his last 24 hours before jail. But it really is just like characters going through this one day, and their kind of interactions together, and like there is this who done it element of like who set him up. But I don't know, as you said, it's just a
But it's
very
not
simple
set
movie.
up, it's not set up as a whodunit. It's not like he's investigating
Right,
throughout
right.
the
No, it's not. But it
movie.
but the movie does play with that idea of like, oh, maybe it's this guy, maybe it's his girlfriend, right? and then you get a payoff of like, oh, it was none of these people that you thought it would be.
Right.
So I don't know.
Um, I can't wait to tell you who I thought it was. Um,
Just tell me
but
no.
I thought it was Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, I mean, so originally, like I said, I thought it was like Barry Pepper, and then I was like, oh well, they're just playing way too much into this being Barry Pepper, so it's like it clearly can't be him. And like same with Natural, I was like, well, I mean, her face when the police come in is like, I mean, that's clearly, oh, she feels guilty, but it's also the face of someone who's like, fuck, the cops are here, and like we're fucked, like they're gonna find the drugs. So, um, yeah, I think Seymour Hoffman was like kind of like the oh, it's the one that no one's expecting, so it could be him.
I thought it was him. I thought it was a jealousy thing. That's what I thought it was Seymour Hoffman.
He was like an incel.
Kinda. He was just like this kind of lowly guy who was just like I don't know. I don't know, man. There's this conversation in the movie that was happening at the World Trade Center site, right? The
Yeah, in the apartment.
Yeah. And uh I forget his name, Barry Pepper's character.
Frank.
Frank. Yeah, but so they're talking, right? And Frank just seems like he really, really wanted to know who did it. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, he just had this like guilt essence about him. So I just never thought it was Barry Pepper. I thought it was Seymour Hoffman. But it turned out to be neither of them. And so then knowing that it's none of them and then watching that conversation again, it's like, okay, they're just having like this like really real conversation. That's what I have to say about this dialogue. The dialogue is like very natural, if I may say so.
Uh-huh.
uh but it just this like very natural dialogue that almost doesn't seem natural in the sense of like you've never been in this situation, I've never been in that situation, but if one were to be in the situation, it's kind of messy. It's like it's messy dialogue as to someone who would actually be in the situation would talk.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's very like as you said, it just feels very natural. I I think that scene too, I think you got it a little bit backed up or mixed up where Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is like, I wonder who did, I just wish someone hadn't sold him out. And Frank's like, oh, fuck that. No one sold him out. He's a drug dealer. Like these things just happen. And I think that's why it's like making you think it's Frank a little too much because he's like, oh, no one probably sold him out, right? Like it just, he just got caught, it's conspicuous. But I mean, the other thing about this movie is just like, so this movie was written as a book in 2001.
This
Book,
movie was written as a book.
yeah, it was written as a book first. It's
Oh
actually
no, it was so it's based on okay, so it's based on
so
the
it's
book.
actually similar to a Sideways situation where it was written and not even published yet, and Tobey Maguire bought the rights to it, but then he ended up doing Spider-Man instead, and so he stayed on as a producer, and then Ed Norton took it over before it was even published.
For this
And,
movie.
yeah,
Okay, and I've written Tobey Maguire
well,
didn't acquire
Sideways
Sideways.
was bought and as a movie before the book was even published, like so similar
Oh.
situation. So they're writing the movie and then September 11th happens and so they add that stuff in. And I was trying to figure out there's some information about this movie that's kind of like, you know, if you have like a super popular movie, there's so much information on it. And then
Right.
this is like a lesser Spike movie, but it's beloved by a lot of people who really like Spike. But there's this bit of factoid about the scene where he's doing the fuck you speech into the mirror. He starts talking about his dad's bar, and his dad is watching a game with a bunch of guys in it, and they're a bunch of firemen.
Yep.
And from what I read, every one of those firemen were in a certain what do you recall them, precinct or whatever. Every guy in that scene died in September 11th. But then I was like I was trying to figure out when this was filmed because like it was also filmed after September 11th. So I imagine they had like started the process, right? And they'd got these firemen in. But yeah, every one of those guys passed away like
So
in
they were
September.
so you're talking about real life, like they were real firemen
They're real
in that
firemen
scene,
and they died in
and they
9/11.
actually died. Holy shit!
Um, but I couldn't find any more information on it. At first I read it, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because this
So
seems like it was
that little memoriam in his bar is actually like their
probably them.
memoriam.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, so like the whole addition of that element to it, and it's done in such a way that is not like, hey, this is a 9/11 movie. It's like, hey, this is happening around this time, and so we obviously have to address it. I think it's just done kind of perfectly, and it's like really like it adds to the
I mean,
film. Like,
if you're doing it and you're planning the release around, 2001, 2002, and you have like the base set, not only is it set in New York, but New York is kind of like a character in the film.
right.
Yeah, I think the way they address it, like you said, is pretty perfect, where you have to talk about these elements. These elements are inevitable to talk about, but you still don't want these elements to overtake your movie. You still want to tell the story that you're telling.
I agree. So I think we can start from the beginning, and you don't know who that guy is when they grab the dog. Um,
Oh, right.
the big Ukrainian Russian guy. So that guy is
I,
Tony Siragusa.
okay.
He is a very famous football player who got a pretty big role in this Spike Lee movie. And is like upon reflection was actually pretty great in this fucking movie.
I have to tell you, I was not a fan of the opening of this movie because before you even see Ed Norton or anything as the title, like as the uh, production studio logo comes up, you hear the dog being beaten.
Yeah.
I was just
Did
glad.
Taylor watch this with you?
I was
Because
she came in like after that, like she came in a little later, but I was so glad she was not there for that.
yeah, I agree with that part. That part's rough, and you're like, why? You don't need to have those noises in there. Um, but I like I can't like fully like describe at the time having this dude who I think still does some commentary for football games, but having this pretty fucking good football player just like, oh, we're gonna put him in this movie, and you're like, why the fuck would you do like find someone actually competent? And then you're like, oh no, you know what? He actually is pretty great in the role. He's funny, which he was known for being funny when he played. Um, and then it turns out it's fucking him. He's the like he's like the main antagonist too, basically,
Does
of
he
this
have
whole
that
thing.
accent? Does he have that accent in real life?
No, I mean he sounds like he sounds like those fucking Italian guys. Like he sounds like in real life he sounds like he always has a pastrami sandwich in his cheeks, but no, like yeah.
Right.
He's not Ukrainian or anything like that. He's like fucking he's
Oh,
from Pittsburgh.
that's crazy. That's really good though.
No, that's what I'm saying. And at the time, like when he's putting him in this movie, like why are you fucking doing this? Why don't you find someone who can act? But he's actually a kind of perfect size and like he did great. And just love the beginning when he's like Bull Pit and then the whole Doyle's Law. And he's like, you mean fucking Murphy's Law, you idiot. Like,
But then they end up calling the dog Doyle anyway.
yeah,
So
which was great. Well, and he's also Ed Norton's Irish or his characters. I don't know what the fuck Ed Norton is.
his character's Irish.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And then we next get him walking around with the dog, the junkie trying to buy drugs off of him. And he's like, fuck that, I'm out. And it's funny when you go into a movie, you always do this, and I did this too. Like you read the IMDb, and it's like his last day before he served 7 years.
Yeah.
You don't know about the 7 years until like way deep into this movie how long he's going to jail for. There is no
I didn't read
exposition.
that. That wasn't in the synopsis that I read. I just read last day before he goes to jail. I didn't know how long.
But right, he's like you learn that in the movie way down the road in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Yeah, so Taylor asked me, she starts watching it with me at this point, and she's like, how long is he in there? And I was like 20, 25. She goes, 25 years? I'm like, 25 hours.
One day in jail.
He's
plus 1
making
hour.
a way bigger deal out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just well, I don't know. I still wouldn't want to go for even a day.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the next thing is he goes to his old school. He's just like reliving the day, walking the dog, and I like how the principal lady comes up to him and tries to get him to leave, and then he just sweet talks her into basically she just like lets him stay with the dog, right? Because he goes to his friend's classroom. Um, but it just sort of shows you his like character of why kind of he's able to have made this life for himself.
Yeah, because he's just this likable sounds like I said dislikable guy. He is this likable guy who has a certain charm to him. I so Philip Seymour Hoffman is teaching this class, and the way the classrooms are set up, and I get the sign outside says prep school, so it's a private school.
Right.
Um, but it looks like a college class setup, especially the way Philip Seymour Hoffman has his students like around him in a circle, right?
Right. Right.
And then you meet the most fucking annoying character in this whole movie is played by Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
And holy hell, dude. But what I really love about her character, I was like, "Oh, this is high school." So everything she's doing, the way she's dressed, her tattoos, the way she's coming on to her teacher, it would have been inappropriate in a college setting, super inappropriate in a high school setting.
You never had girls that did that in high school?
Dude, my man, I could sit here for I went to a private Baptist high school with uniforms.
No, we did
You
too.
you'd
But
be
like
sent home so fucking fast.
what for flirting with a teacher?
Oh, I thought you were talking about like dressing like that or
No, 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 no. But even with the uniforms, I mean, they wore skirts, right? And like, yeah, they were supposed to be a certain length, but they didn't get checked all the time. Like, yeah, girls would do that shit. They would flirt with the teachers and stuff like that to try and get their way. Not to her extent of
well,
what she
no,
does.
sure, but also I don't never happened in front of me. I don't know anything about it.
None of the high school girls flirted with you. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, no, I'm talking about with the teachers, but they sure the hell didn't flirt with me. Forget it.
um, and then I like it's fun. So what? They're all early 30s is what they're supposed to be in this. I guess no, exactly 31 is what their
It's
age should
kind of
be.
funny because you and I are in our early 30s. You're kind of mid 30s, but they 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 look way older than us.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman looked 50.
He's
Like the
supposed to be
entire time
30?
the entire
He's
time he was
supposed to be
acting.
31 in this movie.
It's
I
just
was
because of the
like,
way he dressed too. Like,
ain't
yeah.
no way.
It's also funny that he was in this movie. He's into young women, and then his son, who was in Licorice Pizza, was into older women. I kept thinking that the whole time. So, but it's funny when Ed Norton's character comes in, Monty, and he's like, "Oh, that girl's cute over there," and it's like she's a high schooler, and he hones in on it too. He's like, "Oh, that's the slutty one that like everyone's into." You know what I mean? Like looks her up and down. Um, and then we have the scene right after this where she's like, "You gave me a B minus, and you gave this other guy an A, and he's a fucking idiot." And she's like, "So you're not going to change my grade?" And he's like, "No, I can't change your grade." And she just like storms off.
Yeah.
It's also like it kind of shows him too of like, "Oh, why do you like this girl?" And she's like, "Oh, it's because she dresses that way." There's nothing about her that you should like because she's annoying, as you say. But it's like he likes her because like she's the hot girl in class.
She makes him feel some kind of way.
In his pants. We next meet Barry Pepper. The first thing I ever saw Barry Pepper in was the baseball movie 61, which we'll eventually do when we make you watch a bunch of sports movies. He is such a piece of shit in this opening scene. And it's like also very funny because this is probably the part that reminds you of Margin Call a little bit. But it's
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
he is basically gambling over the unemployment number with $100 million. And so this is our introduction to this guy, and then he spends the rest of the movie judging every single other person in this as he is doing like as this is his job.
I can't really um, think about Barry Pepper in anything else. I mean, I've seen Saving Private Ryan, but I don't remember him in it. I mean, it's been a while. He's an actor that's like he's not in a lot of stuff, is he?
I mean, I think he's mostly kind of doing like he's definitely not leading a ton of movies, right?
No, he's that kind of like that quirky side character type guy
He was in 7 Pounds, which is a big one for me that people didn't like that much. Um,
with
yeah,
Willie Smith, right?
yeah, and then Knock Around Guys. 61 though, that's the one we're gonna do it. He was in Battlefield Earth, which is that didn't do well for anybody.
No.
But yeah, I love the fact that, and the movie's not very subtle about it, but like this dude is a piece of shit who is judging every other person in the movie and is like shitty to all of his friends because he doesn't think they're like good enough. You know what I mean? And so it's, I don't know. I love
I
that
think
part of
of
it.
I think you're the 67th percentile, David.
Oh, that mean, thank you. I
Yeah, you're
guess I don't
welcome.
know.
Yeah.
What's
I
that
like
based
how
on?
I like how the question is like, what is that based on? He's like, money, job, you're
If you
just
don't
not
have money,
desirable.
if you don't have money, you can't even get top 90. And then we get the Rosario Dawson piece where we meet her and we get the flashback. And she wants to get him to get in the tub with her now, and he's like, nah. And then we flash back to when he was in the tub with her, and the DEA shows up. And I think this is the time I realized, like, I don't know why. Maybe I realized it then and I forgot, but like, it's obviously really well done in the movie that it's like the DEA agent walks in, is trying to be subtle, but immediately sits down on where the drugs are.
Right.
Immediately. He knew. And I love Monty's reaction of like, can you just get this over with and fucking open the like I know. Like quit doing this.
I know, yeah. But I love his monologue up to there. He was like, "Man, this is a nice couch. Not as comfortable to sit on that I thought it was gonna be." And then he asks his other DA agent, he's like, "What do you think it is?" He's like, "The cushion, yeah, the cushion seems a little lumpy." Yeah, it's great. Um,
So
but
the guy,
it's also painfully obvious. Two things about that: it's painfully obvious that he knows and what he's working up to, but also the way they cut back to Rosario Dawson's like POV, like over the shoulder shot of her, and Monty keeps looking back at her. It's almost like he's looking at her like, how do they know?
uh-huh. Yeah, like she immediately, her reaction immediately makes her seem guilty, like, oh, he thinks
Yeah,
I did this,
it
or
does.
whatever. So the guy who plays Agent Flood, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., has a very famous catchphrase that he uses in this and The Wire, which is just shit. And a friend of mine from college, we used to joke about this. And I didn't have time to go get it from my dad's house, but I have like a 8 to 10 inch tall Isaiah Whitlock Jr. statue that has a button on it that you press, and all
No,
that
you
button does
don't.
says shit. It's a prized possession, like at my dad's house. I'll bring it over one day.
Okay, yes, please. Okay, so we get another flashback to Rosario Dawson's character where she's in high school. And it's kind of funny too. It's like, okay, so I take it that Philip Seymour Hoffman and Edward Norton are around the same age. So if this was back when she was 18, do we ever get how old Naturel is, like present day movie?
No, no, yeah, we don't know. I mean,
Do
I
we
would
know how long
assume
they've been together? I
no.
think
I would.
someone said 5 years. No.
Oh, you know what? I think this is like a fucking SAT question, but I think he had been out of school like 3 years when he met her. He said something like that to her, so he was like 21, maybe. But I
He
don't know. That
was
doesn't make
he
sense
was
either.
he was drug dealing in the park
But he was drug dealing in
already.
high school.
He didn't I mean, the only thing they did to him to make him look younger is shave off that horrible goatee.
Yeah, I want to talk about the goatee in the end too. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think there are probably some clues to what her age is now. Um, I don't know. She was hot throughout. You know what I mean? So like,
But Rosario Dawson in a schoolgirl uniform?
well, that's gross, Alon. She was a high schooler at that point, and that's
She
just
was 18. A couple years younger, we have a problem.
a couple months younger. The conversation be cut short. It wouldn't have though. That's the thing though. It wouldn't have been cut short. He would have just kept going.
What a sleazeball. That's the thing about Ed Norton too. He plays a very likable sleazeball, but a
You know what?
sleazeball nonetheless.
I was also trying to figure out, was she like she was at a local park on a break? That's like the crazy thing, I guess, about being in New York City going to school is that she just like, I'm gonna take my break. I'm gonna walk like just off school grounds to some playground. Is that what she was doing? You know what I mean? Like it was very odd.
It could have been after school. I mean, she was smoking.
I think she said she had to get back to class though.
I gotta get back to Mr. Rogers' class.
I don't know who that is or what that
That was
was.
Rosario Dawson.
Let's get back to the present day where he like tells her, "I want you to wear that silver dress tonight." I don't know. I gotta say, I didn't really like that silver dress on her. I thought we could
You
have gone
know,
with something
good.
better.
I'm glad we're on the same page of this. I think she should have gone back to the schoolgirl girl uniform.
You know what? Another thing we just bring up now is like the movie ended in a totally unrealistic way with me because they did not sleep together before he left. And in your last 24 hours, when you're with Rosario Dawson, that's like the one thing you need to do.
Yeah. Wow. Holy shit. Yeah,
Maybe he felt like he was going to get plenty of that in prison, so he was like, not. He had to save his energy.
not that way. Not on the giving end. But the fact that he was like, no, I want my best friend to beat the shit out of me, but not sex with my girlfriend. Yeah, that's a good point there, David.
It made sense. It made sense. So he leaves the apartment, and Tony Siragusa is there.
He didn't want them to smell the pussy on him.
It's like an aphrodisiac. Oh my god! So they're out. He's outside the apartment, and Tony Siragusa is like, "Oh, it's natural. She's the one that gave you up." Da 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 da. And then the camera goes up, pans up, and she's like outside the window. I was like, "Did she hear that?"
Yeah,
but then
really
it's like
made you feel like she heard it.
But it's not brought up. It's not like she. I don't know. She doesn't say anything about it, so it's like maybe she did.
She kind of says it to Barry Pepper's character in the club, where she was like, y'all think I gave him up, right?"
Well, that's because he straight up accuses her of doing it.
Yeah, she's on edge though.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably this. If she did hear it, she's probably like, I can't. Well, if I deny it, like, you know what I mean? Like, he hasn't accused me to my face. I'm not just gonna come out and deny it because it's like he's not gonna believe me. So I'll just let it go or whatever.
From there, we go to the dad's bar, and his dad is played by Brian Cox. By the way, Brian Cox can play anyone's white father in Hollywood, and it works out. He's so great. Also, has Brian Cox always been that old?
I think so since 1930.
Yeah, and but he's awesome in this. He's awesome in pretty much anything he does. But I like how Ed Norton divulges to him. He's like, "Do you think Naturel gave me up?" And there's like, he doesn't say no, of course not, right off the bat. But when it ends up being no, and then he tells his dad, "It's like, oh, it was never Naturel." His dad was like, "Of course it wasn't. You moron."
Right.
He doesn't say moron. I'm imagining his Succession character says moron, but he's like, and Brian Cox doesn't really play, at least for me, from what I've seen him in, doesn't always play the nicest father figure. But he seems like a really good guy in this.
He does. He's a very like caring, loving father, even up until the end. This scene I think is most memorable for the bathroom scene, and I was getting ready to come in here and be like, Spike just likes these, right? But this was in the book, and the only thing added to it was the Osama bin Laden part, but like the speech for the most part was in there.
Yeah, when I was watching this with Taylor, and she was like, "Wow, it doesn't really feel like a Spike Lee movie." I was like, "Yeah, it doesn't really feel like a Spike Lee movie." And then he goes down the really super racist rant, and I'm like, now
There
it feels like a Spike Lee movie.
We've come full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I always the speeches always make me laugh. So, I get it. It's offensive, but it was good stuff.
Just how hard he went in. It's like that do the right thing scene. Although, 10 times as bad.
Well, what's funny too is like the reason I like it a lot is, well, one, he starts making fun of even the people in his life, so it's not just that. Two, he then tells himself to go fuck himself because he's like, "You're being a bitch right now." And then three, the movie ends it with him seeing all the people in that speech as he's
Yep.
leaving New York City, and it's like he was talking shit about these things that he loves. He loves the brothers on the basketball court and the Jewish guys selling diamonds. Like he fucking loves New York City. So it's
I
like,
mean, he even told the little kids to go fuck themselves, but he doesn't, he doesn't really mean it.
so like he similar to Do the Right Thing, like talking shit about all of these different people in the city. It's like, but he loves it. And it's like he like shit talking is kind of a part of like, the life. And it's also like, I love these people that I talk shit about.
Do you think it also has the fact that he's about to be put away for a good amount of years? So he's just like, I did not appreciate this as much as I should have, as much as I could have.
Well, so I think in the beginning in the bathroom, he's like, "Fuck all this. This place sucks anyway." Fuck. I'm like, whatever. 7 years to get away from this, and then at the end, he's like, "Nah, man, I love this. I'm gonna miss it." You know what I mean? Like more of
Yeah.
like, it's kind of like the stages of grief, and like at the end,
Yeah.
it's acceptance. So we next go to Barry Pepper's place, and my friend Zach, his dad always calls him Barry Peppage, so we always call him Barry Peppage.
Cool,
Um,
cool
and,
story, bro.
and we talk about him enough that like that nickname
Yeah,
has come up quite a bit. So.
apparently.
His place overlooks like the Twin Towers, like memorial site. Basically, at that point, it wasn't even the memorial. They just had the lights up that shined in the like where
It was
the
the
towers
it
were.
was the construction site, yeah.
The one thing I'll say about this is, so like obviously the back and forth we talked about, them talking about Monty and what can they do for him, and Barry Pepper saying, "No, fuck it, like I love him, but like he deserves what's happening to him. He's a drug dealer." Um, the music is super loud and intense in the scene, especially like at the end when it's just kind of showing the people working at the site. And I was like,
Yeah.
I think that worked more in 2002. Now I was just like, that's really loud and like
My
really overshadowing the scene.
one of my favorite parts about that scene, that conversation, isn't even them talking about anything to do with Ed Norton, Monty. But I think it was Philip Seymour Hoffman who was like, the Post says that the radiation levels down there are really, really bad. And then
No, he said the Times, and he's like,
he goes, yeah. So he goes, the Times down there says that the radiation is really, really bad. And then Barry Pepper goes, well, it's a good thing I don't read the
he
Times.
said, "Fuck the Times. I read the Post."
I read the Post, and the Post says it's okay.
The EPA. He's like, oh, one of them's lying. Yeah, I don't know. That scene's also pretty great, and it's just like it is one of the scenes of the movie where like it really ties into 9/11 and really kind of grounds the movie and dates the movie in like the experience of like New York after that event.
Yep.
So we next get the flashback with the
You mess
DEA.
with one of us, you mess with all of us.
So they flash back to I don't know, you're like on something today.
From
So
Spider-Man.
they flash back to the DEA questioning him, and they first show them letting Rosario go, and I was like, why are they doing that? And I think it must be just to fuck with him, just to.
It's a play, yeah.
But it's like I don't really get the actual logical sense of it. But I love his line of like, "Hey, can I ask you a question? Does he keep talking the entire time your dick's in his mouth, or like does he take a break? Like what is?" And, and then they tell him like, you're gonna go to wait for 15 after he does the whole "Your Honor, I was scared," and da 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 da, and he's like, your fucking like little act isn't gonna work. You're getting 15 years.
As a lawyer, if this was your first time and you're caught, he wasn't even caught drug dealing. He just was caught having. It looked just like money, but I didn't know you could get arrested for just money.
There were drugs in there.
Oh, there were. I just saw money.
They said there was over a kilo.
Oh shit! No, they had a warrant. Oh, man, well, we can't do anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of this that was just like, it's we just have to accept what's happening too, because they're like, oh, you're gonna get 15 years, and then he ends up getting 7, and you're like, well, how did he get 7? Did he sell someone out a little bit, or what did he do?
I think that's what Nikolai was thinking too.
No, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Uncle Nikolai. And you have this foreboding figure throughout the film. You don't see him until the end, but you know that when everyone, well, not everyone, but you know when like certain people are like asking him, "You gonna be there? You got to be there, dude. You know, we Uncle Nikolai really wants you at the club tonight." You kind of piece together, oh, okay, it's his kingpin that is like gonna make sure instead of getting, ass fucked in jail, don't give me up or I will fucking kill you.
Yeah, pretty much. That Nikolai guy looked like, I was like, is that Michael Shannon in some sort of makeup and prosthetics? Like, what's going on there? So we're next into the 62% versus 92%. Barry Pepper's like, I'm happy to be blessed with a very big dick. And this all is really funny when they eventually go to the bar and he's like, hey, so why is it that women always cry after great sex? And it, like, as he tells them and they laugh at him, it hits him that that's not supposed to happen.
I just love how Rosario Dawson busts his balls on like everything he says. She's like, "You're a fucking idiot," and it makes Philip Seymour Hoffman's character feel a lot better about his situation, even though, and he's right about this. He's talking about Anna Paquin's character, and he's like, she's not even that good looking, and Anna Paquin is beautiful and hot, whatever description you want to use on her. Somehow they just did not make her that attractive in this film.
They didn't accentuate what you wanted?
Did they? You?
I don't know. I don't think we should be objectifying women in this way. You know what
No,
I mean?
I just mean they made her look a very certain type of way that worked for her character, but she could have looked like 10 times hot. Who was it? Someone in the movie was like, oh, I think it was Monty, who was like, I wish I was an X-Men, the one that can walk through walls. And I go, oh shit, is that Anna Paquin's character in X-Men? It's not. It's at the time Ellen Page's character in X-Men. But I was like, man, to mention X-Men and have Anna Paquin in your movie, ballsy move.
I think Brian Cox was also an X-Men, wasn't he, at some point?
He was in the second one.
Yeah. Yeah, that was in one of the stupid little fun facts. So I also like Philip Seymour Hoffman's character tells him about the professor that's in love with a 16-year-old. And Frank is immediately like, is it fucking you? He's like, damn it. He's on to me.
I love how that all comes to a head when they just so happen to be outside the same club. Mr. Alinsky, what are you doing here? And I think the DJ's name is DJ. Is it Dawn?
Dusk.
Well, there I am.
Dusk till dawn.
From dusk till dawn. So she's like, I didn't know you were a fan of DJ Dusk. And he's like, oh yeah,
he's the truth. He is the truth.
And he's like, yeah, I love his early work. And she's like, early work?
What? Well, what's funny about that is because earlier, Edward Norton is talking to the bouncer who is played by Patrice, who's a comic. He passed away. Oh. And he's like, oh yeah, it's this Dusk guy is in tonight. He's 17. He's new. So there is no early work, but Philip Seymour Hoffman was too far away to have heard that. So it's just like, even us as the audience know why that's stupid.
Yeah, it's just so stupid. But I love how Ed Norton is like, hey, who's your friend? And he's like, oh, she's a student of mine. He goes, oh, nice. Let's get her in. Do you want to come in with us? She's like, I got 4 other guys with me. He goes, you think I'm going to bring guys in? She's like, yeah, you're right. And just fucks her friends.
She probably does.
Yeah.
I think Ed Norton's too. He brings her in just because he thinks it's funny. Well, one, he's like, oh, maybe
He
I can get Philip Seymour Hoffman some action.
I
But
don't
two,
think
he's
that's
just
what he
like,
was I don't think that because he saw her in the class at the beginning of the movie, and he thought she was hot, so he probably was trying to get her too. Oh,
but he
no,
also
he's pretty committed to Rosario, so
no, yeah, I think he thought it was just funny to fuck with his friend like this because his friend's like, she can't come in, she's 16. He's like, whatever, I'll do whatever. Like, I'm going to jail tomorrow. I'm not going to jail for this.
Yeah, can't you wanna come with me, buddy?
So she's there and they all go in and he's like, you're gonna get me fired. And he's like, dude, just you haven't done anything. Just fucking play it cool. I know you're incapable of that. But
I
it's also
love Yeah.
he says that she's 17 and it's like in the fake story she was 16. So it's like, is he just trying to make it better now? He's like, she's
I
17 years old.
the other thing too, it's like, to show her age, right? To show her immaturity. And she's like never been here. But she's like, I think, wow, I think I've seen this in a Daft Punk music video, like this back room or something. And when they get the champagne on the table, she just gulps it down. And Monty's like, did did you like that? She's like,
It
yeah.
was delicious. Yeah, no, that's all very funny. So then they all decide to kind of leave Philip Seymour Hoffman alone, right? So like Rosario and Mary is her name, go dancing, and then uh Tony Saragusa comes up and is like, I've got this hot bitch I want you to come see, which I don't think, I mean, we never see, certainly. And him and Frank go, and he wants to talk to Frank about something. And the whole time, like, you're like, oh, we're never going to find out what that was because they don't really tell you. But the thing he wanted to talk to him about this entire time is I need you to hit me as hard as you can. Like, basically Fight Club.
But Frank doesn't even, when he brings it back up at the end of the movie in the park, I didn't get the feeling that they talked about this before.
Well, he all he says is, I need you to promise to do something for me. And then he tells him in the park what it is how I thought it was going down.
But didn't feel like that conversation that we couldn't hear but see. It was long enough to like explain what he needed from him, not just tell him.
Maybe, and maybe the reason he acted like he didn't know and like what it was later was just like, that you're serious? Like, this is what how can you ask me to do this? You know what I mean? He was like, oh, he was fucked up that night. He's not really asking me to do this.
So there's kind of two stories in this. Let's talk about the least interesting one. Is when Philip Seymour Hoffman follows his 16-year-old high school student to the bathroom. And before that, actually, she's like on his fucking lap. And he's asleep. But then
I mean,
he
she
wakes.
assaulted him.
I don't think she ever touched him.
She was on his lap.
That's assault.
Of a sexual nature, too. But she was
Yeah.
on E, so, and she's a minor. I don't know.
He follows her to the fucking bathroom and kisses her, and she is shook, my brother.
She is. I don't know what the point of that is. Is it like, because one, she got on his lap earlier, so why are you so like weirded out about the kiss? But it almost felt like she like flirted with him, not thinking anything would happen, just like, oh, I'm doing this flirty thing to get my grade, and
She's
then
a tease.
and then he kisses her, and she's like, oh fuck, did not know this was gonna happen.
I also like the fact that she's like, I'm not gonna blackmail you into giving me an A now. And he's like, you're not gonna blackmail me into giving you an A now, right? And she's like, yeah. No, I'm kidding. But now she has so many things she can
got that
blackmail
A.
him.
She doesn't even have to ask anymore. That A is happening.
If she even remembers what happens the day after.
Yeah, so I do like too. There's two pretty cool shots. There's first the shot of Anna Paquin coming back after dancing, where she's sort of, it's just like on her, and she's sort of dancing down the hallway to get back to Philip Seymour Hoffman. And then after he kisses her in the bathroom, we get sort of the standard dolly shot from Spike, except this one's not straight on. It's from like above in an angle.
Yeah.
But it's Philip Seymour Hoffman just
Philip
not
Seymour
moving
Hoffman.
but moving on a dolly. Both pretty cool.
Pretty cool. We didn't really talk about it, but we got that shot in Malcolm X too.
Oh yeah, we did. Like
Very similar to the
as
one,
he's
yeah,
gonna die. Yeah, I
very
mean,
similar
that's
to the one in Inside Man of Denzel.
yeah, yeah. I think that's probably the most famous one is the Malcolm X one. So, um, we're next getting the scene where Barry Pepper first like tells Rosario that uses a very offensive term and calls her a skank. And then after that part where she's like, if you want me to be the bad guy, I'll be the bad guy. If you want to assume that I did this, fine. Just assume I did it. I don't give a fuck. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman comes up and he's like, I kissed my 16-year-old student. He's like, what are you fucking trying to be R. Kelly? And he's like, drink this alcohol. Like, you need it. And then we
Uh,
finally meet Nikolai.
I thought it was going to be a really famous, well-known actor. Not to me though. I did not know him at all.
I did
But
not know who that guy was. His name is Lavani. He's got
okay,
one name on
that-
IMDb.
he's like Cher.
Yeah, sure. That's the one I would go with first.
Yeah. You know, the thing is though, it's like what he's coming in here and accusing Monty of. Like, it's going to be, hey, don't give me up or I'll fucking have you killed. And you're definitely going to get sexually assaulted in jail. So just take it like a man. I did like his whole like tattoo survive on you, do what you have to, but like man up and do this yourself. I like it. So he's like, when I went into prison at 14, I came out a man.
I don't think he was telling him to just accept the prison rape. He told him like find a guy and beat the shit out of him.
No. I'm just
they'll think
saying
you're
accept your
crazy.
circumstances. Accept your
Oh,
circumstances.
Okay. He's like, when I was 14, I went in and I was very pretty. So it's then revealed that Tony Saragusa, Kostya is his name in the movie, apparently, is the rat. And apparently the DEA got this guy to turn on Ed Norton so that Ed Norton would turn on Nikolai. And I'm like, why could that guy
Yeah.
not just turn on Nikolai? Why
Yeah. That
add a middleman? That part made no sense to me.
nope.
But it's just a choice for the movie and the book. And but yeah, and then he's like, obviously he's not going to kill him, but he's like, they'll kill you. Like, I don't have to be the one to take care of this. Like, you're dead already.
I like though when he had the gun in his hand, he just wanted to know why.
I think he wanted to confirm that they were right, because they all said, this is the guy that did it. And he's like, why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? And he's like, I had no choice, which is a confirmation of, oh, so he did do it.
But I don't even think it was, why did you do it? I don't think even Monty cares about
I
that.
needed the confirmation. I needed it.
No, but I think he also, like, Monty wanted the confirmation of why did you try to pin Naturel for it?
I think it's the only well, but as the Russian Ukrainian gangsters said, it's there were only two people that knew where that stuff was besides him, Natural and Kostya. So like he had to pin it on the other person that knew.
Yeah, yep, that's true. I just going back to Anna Paquin, I love how she's just like, man, I just love her name, Naturel, like all natural ingredients, like
we get it.
I'm like, shut the fuck up.
We get it. And so then he leaves and he gets home at 6 a.m. Still doesn't sleep with Rosario Dawson. He's like, I got one more thing to do. And it's like, oh, he's going to go walk the dog. And I love this reveal of him wanting to get beat up. And he's like, I need you to make me ugly. And I'm like, well, why don't you fucking shave that goatee, first of all? Because that, that's a thing you should probably do. Like, you've perfectly shaved all around it. Maybe don't make yourself look like, that.
Jesus, David.
And then in order to get Frank to punch him, he punches Philip Seymour Hoffman. And then Frank just fucking wails on him. Really gives it to him. And I love the way they cut all the sound, Spike does, to just hear the ambient background sound of like chirping and, passing people running, but like cuts all the their screams and talking.
Dog
like,
barking and
yeah, I love that part of it. It's great.
No, it was really, it made it more powerful, and how Barry Pepper just fell down crying. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman goes to Monty's side and he's just like seeing if he's okay. And then Monty goes down to Barry Pepper's side and is like seeing if he's okay. Um, I just want to say there's a lot of character growth in this day, and Monty grows, but not, in a kind of in a way. We get to this in the end. I want to talk to you about the end. We get Philip Seymour Hoffman's character kind of grows some balls on him a little bit. Dumb, stupid, but there's an arc there. The character
The
that
arc is in the
grows
pedophilia.
no, well, yeah. The character that grows the most, that has the biggest character arc in this whole fucking thing, is Barry Pepper's character.
Well, too, and I like how, he's like, punch me. He's like, no, I can't do that. You're my friend. He's like, dude, you want to fucking do this. And it also kind of, after he beats the shit out of Ed Norton, it's like this, you're right, this moment of reflection of like, I do fucking hate all my friends. And why do I judge them all so much? And like, I'm not a good person either,
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think, yeah, I his character arc is a cool one. I really liked it. I just like, you see this really asshole character go through all of this, and then you see just a realization of on his face at the end. I'm in it for the Barry Pepper story, man.
Me too. Me too. So the way this movie should have ended is he goes back to the apartment, he sleeps with Rosario Dawson,
You're really
gets in
on
the
that, huh?
car, drives out of New York, sees all those people that he was talking shit about, and then the movie fades to black. And instead, we get about a 10-minute dream sequence of him moving to New Mexico, and working in a
Somewhere in
bar,
the fucking desert,
getting
dude.
fake ID, and then years later he can get Natural to join him, and I'm just like, why are we doing this? Like my least favorite thing in the entire movie. I don't really understand why it's in there.
Brian Cox is narrating it from the get-go. His dad is just a huge advocate of him being like, look, let me not take you to jail, and let's break the law together, and you run away and live out your days, not being ass jostled in prison. And
What? What did you say?
and
Just the light jostling of the ass.
just the light jostling of the ass. Let's not do that. And then I guess he wakes up, and that's the end of the movie. So you don't actually know which path he decides to take.
I think he's going to jail. Pretty confident.
Dude, after all of that trouble, like, if you're ever caught and then you're sent to jail, first of all, you get like double time. And second of all, it almost just seems easier just to go to jail, serve out your 7 years, and come back. Doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, if you get caught too, well, first of all, I don't know. If you can get out of the country and maybe to a non-extradition country, that might be the play. But they make you surrender your passport. I don't know. I hate the whole dream sequence. I don't like really understand. I just think like it's kind of a perfect ending for him to be like, I even having his dad say we can run away, and him just like, no, I gotta do this. And just like him driving him to the prison, I think is kind of perfect. So this part of it, I was just like, it's just so weird. It doesn't like ruin it for me, but I'm just like,
And then
it's
when
long
you're
and weird.
when you're an 80-year-old man and have grandchildren, that's when you sit them all down and tell them that you're a runaway con.
Yeah, that is the play. There was this recent story. This woman just came out. She's like, yeah, my dad who just died. She's like, 3 months ago just told us he was a bank robber, and he changed his name and moved across the country, and like was on the most wanted list for 40 years. And then, like, it all turned out to be true. Like, this guy was a guy who just did what Ed Norton did in this movie, but in real life. So I imagine he was probably a big 25th Hour fan. He's like, it'll work. You can make it happen.
uh, the biggest thing to me is that he never he never shaved his goatee. No, he did, right? He grew out like handlebar mustache for like living in the desert. I don't know. He didn't change his appearance enough for my liking. Um well, overall, I give this movie like a B minus. I liked it. I thought the acting was really good. I thought there was some dialogue in this movie that was really really well written, well acted. Um but overall, I don't know. Would I have seen this movie in the theaters when it came out if I wasn't 10
10 years when you're 10 years old.
when I wasn't 10 years old? Probably not. Probably honestly not. But yeah, I mean, now I can say that I've seen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that "fuck you" rant on Twitter of just and me always wondering what the fuck is that from, and so now I know. So I guess my life is complete in that sense. But yeah, B minus, nowhere near a bad movie, very competent movie, just not my kind of movie.
We're 200 something episodes in, and this is the first time you've given a letter grade. So,
Well, we're gonna start doing it now.
Alright, real quick, Alicia Keys was considered for the role of Naturelle. I don't know how that would have worked. And then Brittany Murphy was originally going to play the Anna Paquin character, which would have, I think, worked fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I this movie really kind of grew on me on the second watch. When we were gonna do this, I was like, I remember liking it okay, and I don't know, it's just a really kind of well done, tight little movie that's like, at the end of the day, you're like, not a lot happened. You know what I mean? What? That's why I kind of compared it to like a Woody Allen movie, where it's like, what actually occurred in this? But I think it's like conceptually very, very interesting, and then the way it was executed, I think the acting and the dialogue all kind of, I don't know. This movie grew on me on this watch, and no, I definitely would recommend, if you're, for some reason we always do this, but if you're listening to this and haven't watched, like, this is a great movie, and I am glad we finally talked about it.
Do you know how old Rosario Dawson was when she filmed this movie?
In the schoolgirl uniform? How old?
Half my age plus 7.
Thanks for listening to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alon, and I finally watched 25th Hour.